Here's the known issue on Carrier Bryant rooftop units with the tubular style heat exchangers. Where the tubular heat tube is pressed into the face of the plate, the tube sometimes develops stress cracks, or as they are usually called, cosmetic cracks. They are called cosmetic cracks because they do not cause a threat of carbon monoxide to be introduced into the conditioned space. Usually when a technician inspects these heat exchangers, they find cracks like you see in this picture and immediately condemn the heat exchanger as dangerous and defective. A number of years ago, Carrier released this diagram of how these heat exchangers are put together, showing that the stress crack or the cosmetic crack is non-critical as it is on the other side of the seal that is developed on the back side of the heat exchanger by the plate on the back side. Also, because of the positive pressure that is produced by the indoor airflow and the negative pressure that is developed by the induced draft motor, any cracks or holes in the heat exchanger would have air drawn into them and into the heat exchanger and out through the exhaust, not causing a problem for the conditioned space. There have been many tests done over the years showing that if a hole is developed on a heat exchanger, because of the positive pressure that is around the heat exchanger and the negative pressure that is produced inside the heat exchanger by the induced draft motor, that any products of combustion are going to remain in the heat exchanger and will go out through the vent and not into the conditioned air space. This is a statement from a natural gas appliance testing facility which states that it's almost impossible to construct a heat exchanger that is entirely airtight. Many technicians have found this to be true when they try to fill the heat exchanger with water, and they find that a heat exchanger will leak quite a bit of water out of it because it is not completely sealed. The agencies that certify gas furnace appliances have an acceptable leak rate of 2% of the flue gas. This test is conducted with the internal pressure of the heat exchanger raised to a 0.1 inches of water column static pressure. This is a statement from Carrier after the Gas Research Institute did extensive testing on the cosmetic cracks. They found no leakage of carbon monoxide through the cracks. However, Carrier, recognizing the liability a tech may feel in the field, has put in place a procedure to replace heat exchangers with cosmetic cracks. If within a reasonable time out-of-warranty units fail, they will allow a replacement of the heat exchanger under warranty. To get this coverage, a CO test is required and must be verified by a Revco that CO is coming from the heat exchanger into the conditioned space. Also, the heat exchanger will be sent to the factory to confirm the leakage. So if cosmetic cracks are found upon inspection of these heat exchangers, a CO test must be performed to confirm that CO is leaking into the conditioned space. All gas appliances should be checked on a regular basis for CO levels to make sure that they're operating within the parameters that are set up for that appliance, that they are set up correctly, and that they are firing correctly. CO detectors should also be placed in any home where there's a gas appliance operating. The parts per million levels of CO have been established by the NFPA, the National Fire Protection Agency, OSHA, and other gas labs. They have established that 0 to 9 parts per million pose no health risk to the inhabitants. 10 to 29 parts per million over a long exposure of over 8 hours will produce headaches and nausea. 30 to 35 parts per million will develop flu-like symptoms and pose a high health risk. OSHA has established a workplace limit of 50 parts per million over an 8-hour exposure period. In order to change out these heat exchangers under warranty, the technician must submit a CO test showing unsafe levels of carbon monoxide in the conditioned space served by this unit and send the heat exchanger to the Carrier factory for testing to confirm the cosmetic cracks are leaking CO into the space. If evidence cannot be provided that these cracks are leaking CO gas, No warranty will be considered, and the cost of replacing the heat exchangers will be borne by the equipment owner.
Go to arefco.com for more videos. Like, subscribe, and check back every week for new videos.